In Scripture, betrayal is not just a reoccurring theme, but it's also something that God is trying to warn people about before it happens. Let's walk through the story of Mary, a Christian woman who was betrayed by some people she never would have expected, and learn 3 important ways that God may be saying, watch out, that person's going to betray you. Number 1, if their words are kind, but their actions are telling a completely different story, it's definitely possible God's trying to warn you about a future betrayal. Mary had been serving at her church for 3 years and had formed a close friendship with another volunteer named Jenna. They prayed together, served the youth group, and shared deeply personal stories. But recently, Mary began to notice some subtle red flags. Jenna's compliments were often double-edged, and she seemed to disappear whenever Mary was struggling. Then one Saturday, after serving at the youth group, she heard Jenna telling some other volunteers some personal details in her life that she had trusted Jenna with. Mary felt betrayed and just this deep hurt. More than that, though, she felt like God was opening her eyes to those subtle red flags that she had been sensing for a while. Psalm 55:21, his speech was smooth as butter, yet war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. Mary realized it was like drinking water that looked clean, but later on you realize was laced with poison. We live in a world where you just are going to get betrayed sometimes and blindsided, and you're going to realize that this is happening not through looking at the water because it looks clean, but more so by seeing the side effects that it has on you once you let it into your body. And the symbolism here is once you let someone into your life, make sure you pay attention to the effects that they're having, because the little bad side effects of betrayal will only get worse. And those subtle red flags and those exposures of betrayal are God warning you of bigger betrayals to come. Number 2, if you begin to sense a spiritual distance in the relationship, that's a sign God may be warning you of a coming betrayal. After Mary confronted Jenna, their relationship slowly faded. She was hurt but found peace in forgiving her. A few months later, Mary grew close to another person, this time a man named Aaron from her Bible study group. He was charming, godly on the surface, and seemed to genuinely pursue her. They spent time reading scripture together, volunteering, and talking about future goals. But over time, Mary started feeling something that was hard to verbalize and explain to someone else. It was like this dull spiritual flatness when she was around Aaron. When they talked about God, at first she was excited because he was willing to engage and wanted to talk too. But the more she listened to the actual words he was saying, it was very vague and ambiguous and kind of not really saying anything. When she would ask deeper questions like, what do you mean by that? Or just wanted more information, he was, again, just vague and deflected and wouldn't go there. So it wasn't that Aaron was doing something overtly wrong, but it was just this overall sense that something is off. 2 Timothy 3:1-5, but understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty, for people will be lovers of self, having the appearance of godliness, but denying its power. Avoid such people. Mary felt like she was standing next to a fire that for some reason wasn't giving off any heat. As we'll see in the next point, this was a warning sign of a future betrayal. Sometimes a betrayal doesn't start with a knife in the back. It starts with the subtle spiritual distancing between you two, and that ultimately affects your walk with God. And number 3, if the Lord sends you confirmation through the scriptures, personal conviction, and external circumstances, that's a strong sign that he's warning you about a betrayal. Mary continued dating Aaron, hoping things would change, but soon his charm turned into control. He began criticizing the way she dressed, questioning her every decision, and slowly isolating her from her church community. He masked it all as spiritual leadership, saying things like, "I'm just trying to protect your walk with God," or "You shouldn't trust people who don't support us." Mary couldn't explain it, but her peace had just completely vanished out of her life. And then one night, she was reading this passage in John 13, verse 21, where Jesus announces Judas's betrayal. After saying these things, Jesus was troubled in his spirit and testified, "Truly, truly, I say to you, one of you will betray me." These words pierced Mary's heart. The next day, Aaron publicly embarrassed Mary. And then when they tried to talk about it later, he used scripture to twist it and make it seem like she was the one who was wrong and not him. In that moment, Mary finally understood all of those red flags that she had subtly felt previously. It's like hearing the thunder in the distance before the rain actually comes. You may not see the storm yet, but the signs are undeniable. God is not silent when betrayal is looming. Mary had ignored the subtle signs that he was sending and revealing to her. Thankfully, once they were confirmed, she finally saw them for what they were. If God keeps pointing something out to you, even if it's subtle, just be cautious. It's certainly possible that you're reading into things, that your fears are making you feel ways that aren't actually true, but don't ignore those subtle signs that the Lord is leading you to see, because then when bigger things happen, you'll already have an abundance of confirmation to back up this more clear answer that you've been given. Make sure you're subscribed for more content that can help you during your season of singleness and with your walk with God. I'm Mark from ApplyGodsWord.com. Until next time, God bless.